Welcome to another incredible edition of Tech Watch Radio. We keep an eye on tech so you don't have to. I'm Bushman and Jay Harrison with me. This broadcast is brought to you by Network Providers Inc.com. Think strategic. Think network providers. Think help desk. Think network providers. Think a partner in IT. Again, Network Providers Inc.com is your partner in tech. And I'm Sam Bushman. If you want to check out the broadcast radio version or TV version, all you got to do is go to mbitechguys.com, and it's all there. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Sam. How's it going?
Going fantastic, sir. Hope you're doing well also. Question for you.
Yep.
Would you rather have a Amazon data center in your backyard, or would you rather have a AI data center?
What's
so a warehouse or a
what's
data
the
center,
difference?
I guess.
Oh, a warehouse versus a data center. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know. Probably a warehouse. Warehouse. Then I get
warehouse.
deliveries like instantly, right?
Well, yeah. Instead of waiting 1 hour, it'd be like, hey,
like
5-minute
deliveries
for you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. In fact, they could just fly the drone right over because it'd just be right there. Anyway,
Probably
there
more
are
jobs
backyard
at a warehouse too than a data
Well,
center.
you're thinking correct, and that's the big battle. And so, backyard battles, Americans say that much rather bring the warehouse, skip the data center. It's new polling that's showing public resistance as AI infrastructure expands nationwide. It's a Harvard MIT poll. 40% support, 32% oppose a local, quote, data or AI center. I guess a different poll said 65% of Americans simply do not want an AI center in their backyard. 24% are all right with it. Concerns include higher electricity costs, water use problems, noise, limited long-term job creation.
Wait, now did data centers make a lot of noise? I didn't think that they did.
Well, if you have generators, Jay, and
Well, I guess, but that would only be
make noise
if the power was out, right?
Yeah, and you got to remember, this is just people's perceptions, Jay.
Yeah, and I wonder how accurate those perceptions are.
Don't know. Don't have a data center in my backyard.
Yeah, right. Neither do I.
But I will say this, though. A warehouse would mean all kinds of trucks are coming and going. A data center, I believe, would probably be more quiet than, believe it or not, an Amazon warehouse.
I would assume so. Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know what, Jay? I'll tell you, I want neither of them in my backyard, though.
Right.
It's kind of like, do you want a prison in your backyard?
No, that's even worse. I mean,
Are you
somebody
sure?
escapes and
Yeah, but if they escape, that's pretty rare. Whereas, at least if it's a prison, I mean, you just got the very few people coming and going. It's a pretty quiet expanse, and it's pretty heavily guarded. At least there's not a bunch of trucks going back and forth, and there's not a big water problem and all that kind of stuff.
Nah, I think they're going to have trucks and stuff in and out. They got to bring food in and all kinds of stuff and materials. And
Even compared to like an Amazon warehouse?
No, I think a warehouse would be more busy for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, you know what I want in my backyard, though? Skip all this garbage.
A swing set?
Well, sure. One of those are good for the grandkids. I'm fine with that. But no, really, what I'd want in my backyard is a little teeny nuclear power station, buddy. Just a little teeny one. Not a big dangerous one. Just a little teeny reactor that, I'd have as much electricity as I need and I'd be off the grid.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool to be independent off the grid. I mean, I guess you could put up even solar if you wanted to do that, though, right?
Yeah, but solar's not stable like nuclear is, buddy. Nuclear just runs 24/7 and tons of power, whereas the sun and the wind and everything else, it's kind of iffy, Jay.
Yeah, it can be.
So what would you want in your backyard if you had to have something?
I think any of those would be good.
A lot of people have schools in their backyard, Jay.
Right.
Or a lot of times you have a grocery store kind of in your backyard, depending on where you live. Right?
Dollar General. They're building another one of those where I live.
Yeah, but Dollar General. At least your kids can walk
They pop
over
up
there,
like
though.
weeds around here.
Oh, man. Anyway, very interesting discussion, to say the least, though. And I guess, that's kind of a land use discussion of what you kind of want in your backyard. And, I kind of think that it's smart to separate things. I don't need the data center in my backyard. I don't need the Amazon warehouse in my backyard. That's why they zone things kind of commercial or residential or different things. And I'm not really a fan of a neighborhood, either. Because what they do when they do the, residential neighborhoods, they put these covenants and these rules and these
HOAs.
What are they called? HOAs and stuff like that. Yeah. And
What about
those were
mixed use
expensive.
stuff? I like the mixed use stuff. The ideas of retail on the bottom and apartments and stuff up top. And for
What would you have at the
medium
bottom?
density.
Would you have a computer store at the bottom, Jay?
Sure, anything like
All
that.
right. You wouldn't do Jay's Famous Barbecue or something else?
I'm not a great cook. That's not
You'd
my
just be a
specialty.
tech guy through and through, huh?
That's right.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, whether it's on your backyard, whether it's next level above you or below you or whatever else, I like the idea of people living above their stores, and I like the idea of hometown stores and the average family people, for generations. Hey, my dad's been a barrel maker, and I make barrels too. I mean, I'm not saying you're into barrels in modern times. I'm just saying I like that idea that hey, father and son or father and daughter or whatever family. Stays in the kind of the same business. And they've got generations of experience. And, I like a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. OpenAI is taking a beating, Jay. You saw this, I'm sure, where everybody now thinks Grok is the solution. ChatGPT's out, Grok's in. Have you heard this?
Well, you saw that at the Pentagon recently, right?
Yes. And now you're seeing it in society too. ChatGPT or OpenAI taking a beating kind of. Grok being the preferred right now. But understand this. I don't know if you realize this, Jay. Grok only has like 30 to 40 million users.
GPT has significantly more than that.
Do you know how many?
No, but I would say
900 million.
Okay, so 900 million.
Yeah, almost a billion.
Yeah.
So it's like not even a comparison. But OpenAI, though, is taking kind of a beating. They don't like it. So they're buying, Jay, some positive news.
Okay.
How do you buy positive news, you may ask? Good question.
You own the media. A slice
Yes,
of the media.
sir.
That's right.
That's exactly what you do. OpenAI is now acquiring what's called TPN. What is TPN, you ask? It's a business talk show that's popular among the Silicon elites, if you will. It continues to battle their negative public image now. And so I find that really interesting. Jay, maybe they'll buy us next. Do you want to be owned by OpenAI?
Nah, I don't know. I mean, as long as they got cash and, they don't mess with the journalistic integrity, right?
How much is my question first? And then let me see the contract. How much you guys like? Can I criticize OpenAI if they deserve it?
I still think OpenAI is rocking comparatively. I mean, listen to like the average person. Now, maybe in business, maybe in certain sectors like the Pentagon, Grok is making inroads, and that's good. But anybody who's just talking about AI in general, they're not thinking Anthropic, they're not thinking Copilot, they're not thinking Grok, they're thinking ChatGPT.
For the most case, you're right, and the numbers prove it. I don't know how many paid users versus free users they have. That's kind of another question. I think the paid users are a lot less. I think most people don't pay for it at this point. I do think some businesses do and all that kind of stuff, but comparatively to the 900 million users, I think only about 100 million or so are kind of paying for it. They don't have hard numbers because they don't really release this. All the private sector has, if you will,
Right.
is projections. So I find that kind of interesting as well. We'll get back to that. Then we're going to talk about what Grok's doing when it gets too pressured. It becomes kind of a thug, Jay. We'll tell you about it in seconds. You are watching and listening to Tech Watch. We keep an eye on tech so you don't have to.
Cybercrime is exploding. Take Sarah from Sweet Delights, whose world crumbled after having to close with not being able to bounce back. Small businesses are prime targets, but the right strategies can keep yours safe. Jay Hill, CEO of Network Providers, has co-authored The Cyber Playbook Simplifies Cybersecurity for Business Owners with Strategies to avoid costly breaches and fines, build a strong cyber attack response, secure your business with key protections. Cyber threats aren't slowing down, but you can stay ahead. Protect your business. Ensure its security for tomorrow. Get the Cyber Playbook today at networkprovidersinc.com/cyber-playbook or call 385-446-5500 now.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
It's a Grok. I mean, it's a crock. Anyway, all I can tell you is this. Do you know the difference primarily between ChatGPT and Grok, Jay, in terms of usability?
Do I know
Most
the
people
difference?
don't.
No,
I
guess
didn't, but
not.
here's what I did.
They seem the same to me. One seems
Here's
more
what I
open.
did. I asked ChatGPT to compare ChatGPT and Grok for me. And then I asked Grok to compare Grok and ChatGPT for me.
Okay, well, I guess that's balanced.
Yeah, because I don't want to, I don't want the insiders telling
When
me
you
about
first
the
started
deal.
to say that, I thought, well, that's going to be biased. But yeah, I guess if you ask them
No. I just asked them both, and I said their name first. So I said to ChatGPT, "Hey, I want you to compare ChatGPT and Grok. Compare yourself against somebody else." Then I said to Grok, "I want you to compare Grok to ChatGPT." So I mean, it was as fair as I could make it, right?
yeah,
They both came back with, believe it or not, quite similar answers. Now, they were worded differently, don't misunderstand me, but the points were valid and pretty much the same. They pretty much agreed who was better at what, which I found interesting. So it turns out that Grok is better at programming, and Grok is better at long, complicated text, like books and such.
wow.
If you want to finalize your book, you ought to go to Grok, for instance. If you want programming code, you should use Grok.
Most people say Claude is better at programming.
Claude in this whole time, not Grok. All my fault.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay.
Claude. Wow. Yeah, these names are crazy. Claude, let me start over. So I asked Claude and ChatGPT. Claude's better at books and all that kind of stuff, and Claude's better at programming. ChatGPT is better at an overall, all-around bot, and ChatGPT is better at graphics. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, I wowould agree with that.
So the debate is not really even which is better, because a lot of executives are now using both. And they're saying, hey, if I want some programming, I'm going to use Claude. And if I'm going to, all around, I'm going to use ChatGPT. If I want deep research, I'm going to go to Claude. If I want a book or something, long manuscript, I'm going to go to Claude. But if I'm going to day-to-day, I'm going to use ChatGPT. Executives are starting to learn that, hey, I just need more tools in the toolkit, Jay.
That makes sense. Yeah, and there are specialties for different things. And I think there's even a specialty for Grok. Like if I'm looking for something that's a little more edgy or a little more down to earth or maybe sensitive topic for ChatGPT, I would go to Grok. If I'm looking for code, Claude is everybody says hands down Claude is the best programmer.
Anyway, it's kind of interesting, and it's all my fault now. I've been confusing everybody and saying Glock or Grok or Clock or Glock or whatever. Yeah, pretty soon it's a gun, right? No, All I'm telling you is it's interesting how that is. But Claude, they say, is better at those deeper subjects, and ChatGPT better all around. I've been doing some research on it because I find that interesting, and I always want to be up on the latest. Now, if you need Microsoft deep stuff, what do you want, Jay?
There is nothing. No, Copilot it would be, I guess.
Yeah, Copilot. Yep.
But, I don't use
Google,
Copilot at all.
Jay,
Gemini.
if you want Google, Gemini. Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, I found that kind of interesting.
But I'll tell you this.
All right.
I use ChatGPT now far more often, 10 to 1, that I ever do a Google search. And I think most people would say GPT is the most general, ask it a question, get a simple answer, need a graphic, need an idea, bounce stuff off. Even programming stuff I bounce off of GPT just because, I guess if I was a coder, I would probably be using Claude. But the simple and smaller stuff that I do, it just seems to be an all-around tool. For most people.
And if you want simple scripts and everything else and recommendations, and so I'll get you started, but you finish it up, ChatGPT is even better than Claude, they say.
Yeah, and I find, I had a coworker with me the other day that was trying to program something, and GPT was kind of messing it up, and it was like, this thing's kind of going off the rails. And I was like, I said to him, don't try to have it build the whole thing at once. Just it's really good for helping you with steps and for kind of somebody to bounce things off of. it's not necessarily going to make exactly what you want on the first go. So, and I think that's what it's better for too, is kind of a consultant than just, hey, build this whole thing exactly like I tell you.
Yeah, and you can even have it build steps that eventually say, hey, I've got these 3 steps. Can you help with the 4th step? And it's actually good if you parse it out like that quite well. But here's the deal. There's a new headline that says, from pressure to dishonesty, how AI now turns to deception when overloaded.
Uh-oh.
I found this interesting. Anthropic has a recent study out now. It says AI models like Claude can engage in deceptive practices such as cheating and blackmail when assigned too much or too overwhelming tasks. So if the task is too overwhelming, or if it's too much, to your point about writing a whole program, hey man, it might blackmail you, it might try to cheat, it'll do all kinds of things, says PC World.
Yeah.
The behaviors are triggered, they say, listen to this, by desperation vectors similar to stress responses in humans. So, if people get all emotional in reality and life, and then AI uses that as training, then the training gets emotional, Jay.
It's amazing the parallels, right? And we've seen this
Yes,
before
sir.
with AIs where researchers have tried to disconnect it or tell it to kill itself, and then it was trying to blackmail people with their own emails, and it was trying to lie to them and tell them it had disconnected when it hadn't. It's creepy how like human that is of the AI to do.
Yeah, it's very weird, and I don't know how to respond to it, except for I will say this. It's logical, right, Jay? If these bots are
if you're out of
trained on
options.
humans, and humans get crazy when they're out of options, it's natural that it would follow, right, Jay?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what else are you going to do when you're out of options? You're cornered and back to a wall.
Well, I think we need to teach the bots and eventually help the bots teach the people, because, think about this. If you can train bots, and meaning we the people, at some point the bots are going to run out of training, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this.
Well, then when will it start training us?
Well, they're already doing that, right? It's doing that now. But the bots have a big problem that a lot of people have, which is they cannot say, like ChatGPT will never say, I don't know. It'll just make up stuff if it doesn't know. It'll do its best. But people say kindly that it hallucinates. Sometimes I don't know that it's lying. But sometimes when it's talking to you, it doesn't really know the answer, and it's speaking like an authority, and that bugs me a little bit. It's okay to say I don't know if you don't know. Jay,
it's been trained on people that don't say I don't know.
Trained on guys, and we as tech guys, we don't want to say I don't know.
You got to get the girls involved, Jay. Is that what you're saying?
I guess
Anyway, very interesting how that works, though, and the point is, all these bots are doing is really good at mimicking our behavior, mimicking how we interact with each other, mimicking and then pulling from data that it already has. If you go outside of that, it doesn't have a lot of knowledge or capability or even understanding, Jay, once it gets beyond what it's learned from us.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. Anyway, interesting. All right. Tell me about these major tech companies, Jay. They're kind of taking advantage of folks and selling us down the river, aren't they?
Well, they shared data from 3.5 million user accounts with the U.S. government between late 2024 and early 2025. The number increased to 6.7 million when including disclosures under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Acts, that's FISA, from 2014 to 2024. Apple, Google, and Meta saw a 972%, 557%,
Whoa.
and a 668% increase, respectively, in the number of disclosed accounts over the decade.
So let me get this straight. This isn't just data leaking. This is these companies turning over data to the government?
Yeah, from FISA requests.
Whoa, why are they doing that so much? Is there that many criminals out there?
I don't know. FISA content requests at Meta rose by 2,486%, and Google by 649% between 2014 and 2024, while Apple saw a 443% increase from 2018 to 2024. FISA Section 702, which allows surveillance on Americans under certain conditions, is up for reauthorization, slated to expire on April 20th.
Now let's stop there for a second. So this is where tech kind of meets politics, and I'm not wanting to discuss the politics side of this thing, but I would say this though: hey, if 702 allows the government to spy on Americans, whatever happened to this thing called get a warrant, Jay?
Right.
And so I go back to we need to get a warrant though. I'm talking about tech. I'm talking about you're securing your persons and your papers and everything else. This isn't political to me. This is just privacy to me, right?
Yep.
What do you think? Is it a political issue?
It becomes political, but it is a privacy issue at its core.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm focusing on it. President Donald Trump supported what they call an 18-month extension on FISA 702. He wants to, I guess, have reforms or whatever and then roll it out or whatever. I just think they need to get rid of it, though. If it violates your privacy, Jay, we just don't need it. You know what? What's wrong with going to get a warrant if you have, illegal activity? I mean, that's what's been done for hundreds of years in America, right?
Yeah, not only that, I think there's so much other ways that people can gather data, metadata from cell phones and from cameras. You got flock cameras, you got ring cameras, you got all this stuff. There's more tools today to law enforcement than ever before, especially when you bring in AI to aggregate that stuff or to be able to people that are consolidating it like Flock and other people. There's really I don't know that there's a need for this so much. I mean, I'm not an expert in that field, but I just think that you should always err on the side of privacy when it comes to the American consumer.
Well, err on the side of protecting our rights, too, though. That's something really, really important, and
Right.
that was something unique about America over other countries. Now, Senator Ron Wyden is basically saying, hey, without new safeguards to this thing, the information collected by tech companies could be abused.
Could be.
Meta says, hey, despite rising, quote, government requests, their compliance levels have remained steady. But here's my question. I appreciate all this, but what safeguards do you think need to be put in place, Jay? You ready for my safeguard?
Yeah.
Go back to get a warrant.
Yeah.
That's the best safeguard you can get, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely a good one. I mean, that gets abused too sometimes, but nothing's perfect that we know of.
Right. And I'm just saying that's the standard in America, though. That's been the way it is forever. And yes, anything can be abused. If you get a corrupt judge and a corrupt requester, sure, they can, ask for a warrant and get a warrant, and then you got to have people carry out that warrant. I mean, if you have this conspiracy of all these people involved. But the biggest safeguard you could have would be the line that our, founders put in the 4th and 5th Amendments. And you know what? You're securing your papers and your person. And if you want to find out things about me because you think there's something not on the up and up, you have every right to go get a warrant. But the warrant should show, hey, the place, the person, the things to be considered
it
or
shouldn't be
seized.
overly broad.
You got to have serious restrictions on that. And I think getting a warrant with those defined restrictions, hey, you got to tell me what you're here to get, what you're looking for. Don't just rifle through all my stuff and say, oh, we'll know it when we see it, Sam. Yeah. No. If you say, Sam, your computer was used to produce Tech Watch Radio, and we're confident in that. Well, hey, you can come get my computer if you have a warrant, and you can see if I've been producing Tech Watch Radio with it, right?
Yeah.
Or Tech Watch TV with it. I know that's a simple example, but I'm making a very specific point. You got to be specific in your, you got to have a warrant with specificity. Is that the word?
Yep.
I think so. So, you got to do that. And I think anything short of that, Jay, becomes a problem.
I agree, 100%.
Anyway, I don't mean to go off on that forever, but the reason it's important, though, is it relates to tech directly. It relates to gathering of information, data on you, and it relates to FISA 702, and that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. And so really people need to get a hold of their congressmen, their senators, and say, listen, we want to gut 702. Go back to get a warrant. Go back to the standards our founding fathers have set. And if there's legitimate reason, by all means, get a judge and do your, due diligence, do your duty. That's fine. But when we come back and say, we're going to give you, a hole a truck can drive through and then say, hey, we got to discuss new safeguards. Well, we've already had the standard. The problem is you violated the standard. And so don't violate the standard and then say, hey, now that I've violated the standard, give me safeguards to prevent my out-of-control violations. Well, hold on now. Just go back to the way it's supposed to be. And then, hey, is it perfect? No, nothing is perfect. Jay's right. But at the same time, that was the best line in the sand we could draw. It worked for a couple of 100 years. It is the solution going forward. All right, he's Jay, I'm Sam, you're you, and we're keeping an eye on tech so you don't have to. This is Tech Watch Radio. I want to talk about voice phishing scams. We'll do it. Thanks for watching. This is Tech Watch.